How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a 2000 live-action film. This was the very first live-action adaptation of a Dr. Seuss story, and we all know the story. Outside of Whoville lives the Grinch, who absolutely hates Christmas, and on Christmas Eve he goes into the town to steal everybody's Christmas decorations to ruin Christmas, as well as the presents. But soon after, he realizes that the Whos don't see Christmas as like a material thing. They still come out and they celebrate Christmas in the square, and then he realizes that maybe Christmas means something more. Jim Carrey portrays the Grinch, and he really shines in the role. He revels in playing this strange, seemingly heartless creature, and one thing that makes him stand out from when it comes to a lot of other live-action Dr. Seuss performances is that he is so expressive with his facial tics and his body movement that he can work through all that costuming and makeup, unlike, let's say, Mike Myers in The Cat in the Hat, where he's kind of restricted by it. And honestly, nobody could have portrayed the Grinch any better, in my opinion. After him, the performances are either okay or kind of bad. As a story, it really benefits more for the story to be a short children's book like it actually is, or a short TV special like the one from 1966, which is amazing. And they add a lot to the story to make it feature length, like attempting to add some depth to the story as well as some background story to the Grinch. But for the most part, with those added bits, the additions are either hollow or just completely and entirely unnecessary, or it can just be simple filter. I mean, there's that one scene where the Grinch joins a celebration in Whoville in the second act that's like, kind of in the afternoon of Christmas Eve. I never really understood why that happened. I also noticed on my most recent rewatch that the minor character of Cindy Lou from the original story, who is being given a lot more of a part than in the original story, which really she didn't need. They added more to her just to make her a plot device. And speaking of the issues with the movie, they focus way too much time on trying to make the Grinch sympathetic while doing it weakly. And really, they shouldn't have done that. They should have just stuck with the original story. You know, he just happened to be living out there and he just hates Christmas. It's not necessarily explained why, except through his own monologue. Also, do you guys remember the end of the original story when all the Who's Christmas stuff was stolen, and as I said at the start, they like all went out into the square to celebrate because they were not materialistic, because they knew the real meaning of Christmas? They went out for not the materialistic part, but just the spiritual and communal part. Well, we don't get that in this version. Instead, we get this materialistic Who society that's really corrupt and serve a sort of commercialistic agenda. And there's this dark atmosphere with this adaptation of The Grinch. And it's weird, it's very dank in the wrong ways, and it's eerie, because it's not supposed to be eerie. And it doesn't make the story in this any better than the original. If anything, I was watching this movie and I was just thinking, I can't wait until I'm done, because then I can watch the 1966 version with Boris Karloff. As for the humor, when it's Jim Carrey, it mostly works. When he's with others, very rarely. And then whenever it's any other adult joke, it just seems forced and just put in so that the film has some appeal to the adults. And it isn't as bad. It isn't as bad as later renditions of different Dr. Seuss movies. Like Cat in the Hat is a lot worse when it comes to the adult jokes. It's awful. Let's not even get into the pop culture references. That's just a lazy form of storytelling for a film that doesn't even take place in this world. For all my complaints, everything that happens involving the Grinch actually stealing Christmas is actually pretty faithful to the source material, I thought. Except for like a certain couple of moments, like that dog ass kissing scene. To whoever wrote that story, fuck off. The production is also a bother. It looks like it could have been amazing. It really does. But as I said earlier, the film looks eerie, dank, and just, you know, whatever word I said. The town looks polluted, and all the bright colors are just muted. It doesn't look right, and it actually makes it look a little boring. If they had just upped the color a little bit, made it a little bit brighter, maybe I would actually like this movie just a little bit more. The film showcases the Grinch as a terrifying, scary presence, but viewers should not be scared of the Grinch. You know who they should be scared of? The most terrifying thing in the entire movie, the Who's. Because their lips are either too big, or they are just without upper lips, and it looks terrifying. I mean, you can kind of get away with it in a storybook. You can get away with it because it'll look like wrinkles, but when you do it in a movie, it just looks terrifying. And the only Who that looks okay is Cindy Lou, because they actually allowed her to look human. They gave her an upper lip. In the end, the film that I grew up loving and enjoying is now something that I can barely call a guilty pleasure. Besides Carrie's performance and a couple of story points, I detest this movie. Whenever I think about watching this film, I will instead put in my copy of the original Boris Karloff Grinch, because it is completely faithful to the book and realized that the story was perfect as it originally was, and it would just be cool to try and bring it to the small screen, and it worked, and that TV special is amazing, and this movie is shit, and I am going to be giving the Ron Howard directed Grinch film, definitely one of his worst films, 1 reel. Well, that'll do it for me today. Please subscribe if you haven't already for more reviews and content, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and farewell until the next video.